Affairs Committee is being held on Monday, December 7th, 2020 at 7 p.m. via teleconference. As chairman of the Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-4, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom, and the meeting link can be found on the agenda as well as on the city's website. You can also join by telephone by dialing 1-929-205-6099. Meeting ID 848-07-54-5755 and passcode 805467. The public may also view this meeting on Comcast Channel 16. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through public postings. Instructions have also been provided on the City of Nashua's website at www.nashua.nh.gov and publicly noticed at City Hall and the National Public Library. If anybody has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or Channel 16, please call 603-821-2049 and they will help you connect. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states they are present, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. I will now ask Alderman Wilshire to call the roll and state the reason he or she could not attend today's proceedings. Alderman Wilshire?
Okay, Alderman
Here.
Karen.
Yes, I am here. I am alone, and I can hear everyone.
Alderman Clemens.
Thank you. I am here. I can hear everyone, and I am alone.
Thank you. Alderman Lopez. Don't see Alderman Lopez. Alderwoman Kelly.
Alderman Kelly will not be joining us this evening.
Thank you. And Alderman Cleaver.
I'm here and I'm alone and I can hear all the proceedings.
Thank you. We have 3 in attendance, also in attendance, Alderman Wiltshire. The mayor is in attendance this evening, Alderman Clee, Attorney Bolton. And I think that's it for now. Kim Kleiner, Administrative Services. So we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. So we will proceed with public comment. If there is anyone out there who has public comment, would you please let Alderman Wilshire know? Anyone, Alderman Wilshire?
I don't see anyone, Alderman Karen.
Okay. Communications?
We have none.
Okay, interviews. We have Master Plan Committee.
We have Bob James, a new appointment of 20 Trafalgar Square, Suite 101, Nashua. And we have Heidi L. McDonald, a new appointment, 42A Chestnut Street, Nashua.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I think both Bob and Heidi are on the phone, or on the call or the meeting, but I would be glad to introduce them if you'd like.
Yes, please, Mayor, if you would start with Mr. James, that'd be great. And then we'll go to Ms. McDonald. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So as you will recall, as part of our master planning effort, we created a citizen advisory committee constituted by members from each of the 9 wards, as well as various employers and business sectors and around the community, various community groups. Bob James is a longtime Nashua resident. He has a great deal of business experience. He is now a realtor. He's worked for many, but previously a lot of Fortune 500 companies. He is now a realtor. He's active with the Board of Realtors and has been, a supporter of many of our essential critical nonprofits. So Bob, Mr. James is a representative of the real estate industry, and the legislation creating the advisory committee calls for someone from the real estate community to be appointed. Bob stepped forward, and I'm glad to say that he did, because I'm sure he will be a valuable member of the advisory committee. And assuming that Bob is on the meeting, I would ask him to say a few words as to his background and why he is interested in the master plan.
He is on, Mayor. So Bob?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I am looking forward to being involved in the Master Planning Committee for a bunch of different reasons. I moved to Nashua 21 years ago, and I've really come to love the city, and we raised our children here. I was fortunate enough prior to my real estate career to be involved with the community at the level of a stay-at-home dad. So I was involved in the schools quite a bit and got involved in the community in a lot of different ways, as the mayor suggested. In real estate, I practice both commercial and residential, and I see the changes that are occurring demographically and as far as the diversity of the city. And I look at that as a great thing, and I get to hear from each one of these different groups what they look for in a living space, what they look for, what they want to be close to, what they feel like they want from a community. And then from a business standpoint, when they come to me and they look for spaces to conduct their business, it's interesting to talk to them about how they see the city and how they see interacting with the city. And I really look forward to contributing to that, what that's going to look like. So thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone from the committee have any questions for Mr. James? No one?
Patricia?
Alderman Clee?
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't really have a question for Mr. James, other than to say that he was for all disclosure, he was a neighbor of mine for a while, for a number of years, and I found him to be very engaging in city activities. When I became alderman, number of questions and so on. His real estate background is going to give him that unique perspective of being able to help to make us well-rounded, to know what the future brings, who's going to be wanting to come to our city and so on, what they're going to be looked for. So I think he's a great choice, and I look forward to his approval. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Alderman Karen,
Well,
I just wanted to let you know that I had logged on as well.
Okay. We'll Alderman Lopez has arrived at 7:10. Alderman
you.
Lopez, do you have any questions for Mr. James?
No, I just sat down. I had connection issues. Sorry.
Okay, fine. Well, we thank you, Mr. James, for coming on and willing to volunteer for this master plan committee. They have a lot of work to do, and I can see that you have a great background and you'll be a great asset to that. Your nomination will come up later in the committee, and you'll get sworn in. Probably, I think the second week in December is when they'll approve all of these appointments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Ms. McDonald, are you on site? Mayor?
I
Can you
am.
see?
Okay, so let me introduce Ms. McDonald. I am nominating Ms. Heidi McDonald as a Ward 4 representative on the Master Plan Advisory Committee. Heidi has expressed an interest in being on the master plan. She is currently the Client Access Coordinator for Greater Nashua Mental Health Center, so she, of course, is working downtown and has been in that position for about 4 years. She has also been a community volunteer in a number of different capacities for the Nashua Elks Crusaders. She volunteered at Southern New Hampshire Medical Center as a patient escort. And she began as a volunteer at the Greater Nashua Mental Health Center, and has moved on up in that organization. And interestingly enough, she is the resident of one of the Habitat for Humanity homes on Chestnut Street, and therefore has been residing and has an intimate knowledge of the Tree Streets for some years now. And therefore, I'm sure she'll give us a very valuable perspective on how we should approach the Tree Streets and the inner city.
I helped build that house.
And with that, I give you Ms. McDonald to say a few words about herself and regarding her interest in being on the Master Plan Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Ms. McDonald?
Hi, I'm Heidi. My biggest interest is I have children and they're the future of the city, and that I like to get involved with things that my kids are going to be involved in. And I just think that it will be great for me involved in this for their future.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone from the committee have any questions for Ms. McDonald?
I have a comment, if I could.
Certainly, Alderman Wilshire.
I wanted to say thank you for stepping forward. I live in Ward 4, so thank you for being on this committee to represent me in my ward, and Alderman Lopez. But just wanted to say thank you for that. Appreciate you stepping forward to do it. And I look forward to the diversity of someone selling real estate, someone living in a neighborhood that's up and coming, and right. So thank you for doing that. It's kind of nice to have the different perspectives tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Wilshire. Anyone else? No one?
Alderman Lopez has his hand up.
Sorry, I forgot she's on the phone, so
I
I should probably say something
I
verbally.
should have known.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say thank you for being willing to step forward, Ms. McDonald. And I are pretty familiar. We've worked in a lot of places together as well. And I'm particularly excited about the number of volunteer activities that she does and her commitment to families and raising children in the community and all that kind of stuff. But I think also it's worth looking at her work background as well, because she's worked in a lot of different fields that have different requirements for, commute and for different income levels and all that. And for the city's master plan, we really need to be looking at not just, your typical suburbanite types of in work situations. We need to look at Nashua as a growing city, and it's going to be important to consider the needs of workforce professionals, the needs of families, the needs of people living in a lot of different situations. So thank you, Heidi, for your willingness to step forward and your service to the community.
Thank you.
I don't see anyone else, Alderman Karen.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. McDonald, for volunteering. I think it's great that you're looking to your children's future. That is going to be the future of this city. And we will take up your nomination later on in the committee, and you'll be notified as to the swearing in probably the second meeting in December. Thank you. And thank you, Mayor, for your 2 great nominations to the Master Plan Committee. I don't know if you have any more to fill for that, but so far you've got some great people that are going to be on that.
All right, well, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. So we're now at application to license hawkers, peddlers, vendors license.
There are none.
Okay, appointments by the mayor. Would you make a motion?
Alderman Lopez?
I'd like to make a motion to accept nominations as presented and recommend to the full board that they be accepted as well.
Okay.
I don't like
we
my
need to
I can
read-
read the motion if you'd like.
Okay. Do you want to read the whole thing, Alderman Wilshire, because it includes reappointments as well?
All right, okay, so I'll make a motion to recommend the following confirmation reappointments to the Conservation Commission, Joel Ackerman and Joshua Hauser, with terms to expire December 31st, 2023. The following new appointments to the Master Plan Committee, Bob James and Heidi L. McDonald, by roll call.
That's the thing I was
Thank
doing.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alderman Lopez.
Would you please call the roll?
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
and I did it, and Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
We have 4 yeas and 0 nays.
Okay, so that motion is carried. Thank you. Unfinished business. We
Unfinished
have
business, we have none.
New business resolutions,
We have none.
new business ordinances.
Before us tonight, we have ordinance 20-33, replacing Corporation Counsel with the Administrative Services Division Director on the Cable Television Advisory Board, CTAB. I would like to make a motion to recommend, no, I can make a motion, right?
Yes, you may.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to recommend by roll call, final passage by roll call.
Okay, thank you. So it looks like we have both Corporation Counsel here. Would you like to speak on that, Councilor Bolton?
Thank you. The idea, I believe, is that the Administrative Services Director that oversees the Information Technology Department, which works closely with the cable television, the government access channels, and the education channel, and so forth, the public access channel, ought to have participation on the Cable Television Advisory Board. And for some time, it was unclear what role the Corporation Counsel or the office should have in being a member of the board. The legal department is available to all city agencies, boards, committees, commissions for legal advice. In this case, it's set up sort of a dual role in participating in the decision-making, not necessarily advising or not necessarily limiting the role to advising on legal matters. So it seemed more appropriate to have it be the Administrative Services Division Director and not the Corporation Counsel or someone that I would appoint participate on the board.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from committee members?
I don't see anyone.
Okay, Mayor, do you have any questions, or did you want to chime in on this? I don't know if he's still there.
I don't think he is, Alderman Karen.
Okay, okay. All right, then, well, you've heard the motion, you've heard Corporation Counsel speak. So the motion is to recommend for final passage of O-20-033, replacing Corporation Counsel with the Administrative Service Division Director on the Cable Television Advisory Board. So would you please call the roll?
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
and we have 4 yeas, 0 nays.
So that motion has carried.
Next, before us tonight, we have ordinance 20-39, updating the financial standards for the city's welfare guidelines. I'd like to make a motion to recommend final passage by roll call. Bob Mack is with us this evening, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Mack, would you like to give a quick presentation concerning the standards for the city's welfare guidelines, please?
Certainly. Thank you, Alderman Karen, and thank you, members of the board, the committee. This evening before you is the ordinance to update the financial standards for the general assistance guidelines for the city of Nashua. Basically, this is statutorily obligation of the department to look at these standards to ensure that we are utilizing the most current expenses in calculating eligibility for welfare applicants. In doing so, we look at certain resources. We look at the residential rental cost standards that are completed annually by the New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority. We also look at the USDA food stamp allotments and food allowance standards. And then we look at the consumer price index for costs of living and making any adjustments on general costs and expenses such as travel and personal care items and things like that. So based on those reports and those and the CPI index, we are proposing the new standards based on, again, increases compared to the latest standards that were effective as of July 1st, 2019. If you look at the financial standards for rental costs, I think everybody's pretty much aware of the changes in rental costs across the state, but particularly in Nashua, the rental costs have gone up from last year about 8%. So costs for one-bedroom apartment, for example, that were at around $1,300, we're now looking at around $1,422 for that basic standard as one example. We do want to do the best we can to ensure that tenants remain housed and prevent homelessness wherever possible, because it is more cost effective to prevent homelessness in most cases than to try to rehouse someone that has become homeless. So that has been a big focus of ours over time. Most recently, under the current COVID situation, there has been a moratorium on evictions. So in our current budget, we haven't had to spend as much money in rental costs, for example, as we have to this point in the past, but that moratorium has been lifted. And so we're now seeing more people that are having to face eviction. So we want to make sure that when we're assisting them, we can assist them at the appropriate levels for rental assistance to keep them housed, in addition to referring them to other programs throughout the community. So that being said, you have before you this evening the recommended financial standards for the city's welfare department to utilize in making those eligibility determinations.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mack. Do we have any questions from the members of the committee?
I have a couple.
Okay, Alderman Lopez.
So you had commented that you had seen a reduction in the number of evictions due to the COVID-19 moratorium. Reduction, not like it's not 100% perfect that people are never getting evicted. What about utilities though? Have you seen utility prices or uses going up as people are spending more time at home?
Actually, that's a good question, Alderman Lopez. We actually haven't seen a lot of that. And that is probably in some part due to the fact that there was a moratorium on utility disconnects as well. And the interesting piece about that is as we move into the winter moratorium, that as the COVID moratorium is lifted, we've moved into the winter moratorium, which means that utility companies in general cannot disconnect for electric services or heating purposes. Doesn't mean they cannot, but there are rarer instances where they can do that.
So we're looking at a situation where at least rental leases and evictions have been forestalled for the past several months. And so we've done a little bit less support than is typically necessary due to less applicants. But that's been COVID-19 contingent. And now in the winter weather months, normally we see a surge of it in the spring months where applicants are coming. And we were warned multiple times that we may see an increase in people looking for eviction support or assistance due to moratoriums being lifted and all that kind of stuff. So are we prepared for an increased financial burden? Are we prepared for an increased number of applicants as COVID-19 restrictions lift, as the spring comes around and people can move around a little more freely again, and also so when landlords are more likely to make comments?
Yes, another good question, Alderman Lopez. I believe we are in a good position to assist with those folks. We've already started to see that uptick in the eviction cases. Because we didn't spend a lot of our funds earlier in the year, we should be okay moving into the latter part of the year. Mm-hmm. And last year we were actually under budget in that category. So I think when we level funded from last fiscal year to this fiscal year, and with the moratorium, I think we're in an okay position moving forward. We are trying to utilize the other community resources, the emergency rental assistance program through Southern New Hampshire Services and the CAP agencies throughout the state. So as people have COVID-related eviction situations, we will refer them to that agency and also tell them that, if they can't get enough assistance there, or that assistance does not come through, by all means to come and apply with us in municipal welfare.
So my impression is there's two messages for two different groups we should have here. One, all of the aldermen sitting here that are going to be looking at the upcoming budget and, expressing the obvious concern about taxpayer burden and revenues and all that kind of stuff, should be conscious of the fact that city welfare is not necessarily the place to make those kind of cuts if we have an anticipated surge of need and resources coming down the pike. But then also messaging for the public where people really need to understand that they have to apply for, or their best bet right now is to apply for rental support and eviction prevention now, so that they don't, end up being part of that surge at a later point. And city welfare is helping people keep from getting too far behind on rent with the COVID funding and all that.
Yes, I would say for those that are applying, and you did make a very good point that people must apply for the assistance, whether it's through us or any other organization. And that was a big part of our messaging throughout this whole COVID event. Was just because there's a moratorium, it doesn't mean you shouldn't pay what you can towards your rent, and make sure you're communicating with your landlord. I know early on in this COVID event, I spoke to a number of landlords and just to check in with them and see how they were doing, because this impacts them economically as well. And they said, you know, we're working with a lot of folks. As long as they're communicating with us, we understand and we'll work with them. But it's the ones that avoid you that don't even try, and they get further and further behind. Because what can happen there is when they come to apply with us, they may not get as much assistance as they need to stop that eviction, because we can help with a month. We might be able to get them another month or two through other organizations. But if they're 5, 6, 7 months behind, it makes it that much more challenging. So yes, you were right on point with saying they should apply and apply now, and we can evaluate their eligibility for assistance.
So my last comment just on that point then, I know there's been a lot of confusion in the community over where city welfare is this month, because they have their building renovated, whether people can go there in person because of COVID-19 or whether they should call. So can you give us a quick rundown of exactly what a person should do over the next week to apply?
Certainly.
Knowing that any of those conditions may change.
Yes, that is true. We are at a seemingly ever-changing situation. We have moved our location from 18 Mulberry Street to 142 Main Street, the old Oddfellows building. We are up on the 4th floor. We are suggesting and recommending people call us versus walking in. However, we do see walk-ins as necessary. They are screened, and we do have an isolated interview room where we are completing interviews. The case technicians are completing interviews, intakes and interviews with applicants. But again, we recommend they call us. We've converted a number of our documents over to electronic forms. So if they have access to email or a computer and completing electronic forms, they're relatively easy to complete. You can complete it on a smartphone or a computer. If they do not have that capacity, then we tell them, give us a call, make arrangements, come in, and you can pick up the hard paper copy. So we've been doing our best to work with the community in general. When they come in, we will ask them for certain identifying information and some verifications, documentation about income versus expenses, and follow through with that intake and assessment process. Again, if anybody has questions about how to do that, they should just call our main number at 603-589-4555. And they can also check out some information on the city website about the application process. I hope that answered your question, Alderman Lopez.
Yep, although I'd like to observe, and I have no idea what the history behind this is, the Oddfellow building actually has a giant sign on it that says Landmark Building. I don't know the interaction between those two, but if somebody's not, you know, as familiar with Nashva's history or whatever, they might be confused. So it's worth just saying that the building that says Landmark on it in giant letters is the one that we're referring to.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Alderman
Thank you,
Kiernan?
Alderman. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mr. Mack, thank you for all your hard work over there and everything you do. Did we fund, or is your trust fund have any balance in it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Alderman Westshire. And thank you for the kind words. We have a very dedicated staff that really takes their job seriously as far as what they do every day in dealing with the applicants that come in requesting assistance. And speaking to the Welfare Expendable Trust Fund, we do have a decent amount in there, about $370,000, I think, at this point. And that was built up over many years. When I first started, which is, believe it or not, almost 19 years ago, there was about $11,000 in there. And we were already operating in the red, so that didn't help very much at that point in time. But we have since turned some things around. The economy has turned around a number of different factors to get us back on track, where when we've had years where we haven't expended our full general assistance fund, we've been able to build up that reserve, which could be very important because as Alderman Lopez pointed out, it may be difficult to track and figure out where we're going to be for the upcoming fiscal year because this wasn't your typical year, to say the least. So we will be looking closely at that as we prepare our future budget.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Alderman.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Do you see anyone else, Alderman Wilshire?
There is no one else with their hand up.
Okay. Well, I thank you, Mr. Mack, for all you do. You gave a great presentation, and no one knew this was coming. So I am glad to hear that your staff is working as hard as they always have. And hopefully we'll get over this hump sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Yes, thank you,
Okay.
Alderman Karen.
You're welcome. So we have a motion for final passage of 0-20-039 to update the financial standards for the city's welfare guidelines. Would you please call the roll?
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
We have 4 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, so that motion carried. I'm looking at my notes. So everything that is on the table is staying on the table. So we are into general discussion. Is there anyone that would like to speak from the board? No one? Okay.
No, I don't see anyone.
Okay, public comment.
Not seeing anyone for public comment either.
Okay, any remarks by the alderman?
Just one quick remark. Good luck tomorrow, Alderman Clee.
Thank you, Alderman Wilshire.
Yes. Yes, good luck, Alderman Clay. Okay, no.
I do have a
need
quick
for-
comment I just thought of.
Alderman Lopez is,
So as you know, the political ramifications have been heavily weighed, because I just thought of it. I just wanted to say that I personally was carefully considering the situation with the CTAB, but since it was Attorney Bolton's birthday yesterday, I couldn't just vote against it. So happy birthday to Attorney Bolton.
How kind of you, Alderman Lopez.
I have to find out when
Okay.
Director Clymer's birthday is.
Oh, my God. No possible non-public session? None needed?
none.
Okay, could I have a motion, Alderman Wilshire?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, please call the roll.
Alderman Karen,
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons,
Yes.
Alderman Cleaver,
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
You have 4 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, so that motion is carried, and we are adjourned at 7:38 p.m. Save all your